Project Management Insights, providing project managers with professional development in the interpersonal skills areas of leadership, team building, and communication. Hello, and welcome to this week's Project Management Insights episode. Okay, we're going to dive into 3 reasons you have schedule problems. And I sat and thought about this, about the key things that used to happen for me when I had developed my schedule and was partway through my project, and what was causing my schedule to be off track, which is the one thing that we really don't want as a project manager. And so these are the things that I want to talk to you about today. First off, what I noticed is that I often over-allocated project resources. Now, this was especially something that was very easy to do when I had BAU, business as usual resources, working on my project. Ultimately, they would tell me that they were on the project half-time, as an example, and yet I never really got half-time from them, because they were working on their BAU activities, and it meant that oftentimes they just didn't have the time to allocate because they'd get caught doing something in their BAU space and they weren't really accessible to me for project time. So over-allocating resources is one of those things that can become a real difficulty in terms of time scheduling, because if you over-allocate a resource, and you should never really 100% allocate a resource, because they are never fully available for 100% of the time. That's just reality. I mean, you look at your day, you're never functioning at 100% of your ability to do things for 100% of the day. It's just not possible. And so think about allocating your project resources time-wise, and really look at that when you are estimating the number of resources that it's going to take to complete the particular pieces of your project. Now, it becomes a problem when those resources are over-allocated and they fall behind and there's no clear tracking going on, because all of a sudden you've lost 2 or 3 days of time from your schedule. Now, it's not easy to pick those up necessarily unless you take on an additional resource. So over-allocating your project resources is a real key thing to be aware of at the start of your project when you are tracking the allocation of your resources. Now, I know in Microsoft Project it will show you. It's not an easy function. There are other software out there that does also show you how much of your project resources time has been allocated. So be aware of that in whatever tool it is that you use, so that you are not over allocating your project resources. Now, the next thing that creates a problem with your schedule is when you're not tracking the progress of task completion. This is one of those things that I find not always easy, because as a project manager, we don't want to have to be following up on each and every task. And I'm talking about a large project here. It's a bit different when it's a smaller project and you don't have as many lines in your schedule, as an example. But you are trusting and believing that your resources will clearly let you know how they are tracking in terms of the progress of a task completion. And it's a matter of being on top of communicating with your resources on a very regular basis, and even weekly sometimes is too long, but even on a weekly basis is the shortest amount of time that I would say, to follow up with each resource and to get a really clear picture of how much of the particular task they've completed. Want to make it easy to set up your schedule or timeline for your project? Why not use Gantt Pro? It's an online scheduling tool, much like Microsoft Project, only it's got lots of better features. It's quick and easy to use, has drag and drop functionality, as well as a host of other different features that makes sharing information about your project with your team much easier. Sign up today for your free trial and use PM Insights coupon code to get $50 off. Now, the thing to be mindful of here is the trust that needs to be built between you and the particular project resource or resources, because it's going to be fine for them to tell you that they are 50% complete. I can easily tell you I'm 50% part way through completing a particular task. Have I actually completed 50% of it? No, I might have only done 20%. But the schedule says I should be 50% complete. I don't want to tell you that I've fallen behind because I'm not sure what you're going to do. And so I'm going to tell you that it's 50% complete, as I said, even though that's not honestly the case. So building the trust with your resources so that you can really clearly get an honest response to what percentage of the task is completed at any given time is really, really valuable. Because you know that if you don't do that and have an honest and clear picture of your progress, you are not going to have an understanding of whether you need to bring on additional resources in order to complete your project within the time frame. And I think this is one of those things that occurs, it sort of slips below the radar because we get busy doing other stuff and we're not always tracking task completion at that minute level, and things slip away so easily. And as I said, it only takes, a week is a long time, 5 days of project hours that are slipping if someone is not being followed up or not being honest with you. Your schedule can all of a sudden get very, very behind. And this is going to cost you money, reputation, and project success because you're not going to deliver against your defined schedule. So make sure that you are tracking the progress of task completion with your resources on a very regular basis and road test that you have the trust from them that you can know that they are being honest with you if they are falling behind and there's slippage, because you need to be on top of that and you need to really be able to know that the honest answer is the truth and then take action if there is slippage straight away as soon as you find out. Now, the other thing that I notice creates a problem, and that has created a problem for me in the past, is not correctly calling out dependencies. I think it's sometimes very easy to put a schedule together and just see the schedule as tasks that need to be completed and tasks that need to be completed by a team without fully considering if those tasks need to be completed in a sequential order. So A before B, before C, before D. Now, naturally, as part of your schedule, if you've broken your schedule down into those key sub-pieces that need to be completed, there will be a natural progression of these sorts of things in terms of, what does need to be completed at a higher level first. But what I'm talking about is some of those minute tasks where someone else might need to be involved, and they might need to have completed their part of a particular task, even subtask even, before it can be handed over for completion. And we don't often identify that very clearly in our schedule, and then there's delays with one piece of the action being taken or being completed, and that upsets the whole completion rate full stop of that task and then the subsequent tasks, and all of a sudden, before we know it, our schedule has slipped again, and we've got issues. think through and be very, very clear on your dependencies, and make sure that when you set up your schedule in whatever tool you use, that you very clearly identify the dependencies and where they link, and understand the impact of slippage if one of the dependent pieces is not completed, because naturally it's going to have a big impact on your schedule. And so being very aware of these dependencies and the completion rate of those dependencies is going to be critical and, as I said, the key to success. Have a think about whether, from your schedule perspective, you have over-allocated project resources, you are not tracking progress for task completion with an honest response, an honest completion rate, or you haven't correctly called out dependencies, and go and fix those in your schedule if they are evident to you at this time. It's the best thing that you can do to ensure that your schedule is true and honest in terms of the time that it is going to take to complete your project and to come to a place of project success. Because the only way that you are able to gain additional resources or funding or time, whatever it is that you need, is to be able to provide that clear and honest picture to your project sponsor, to your project control board, to the people wanting the project delivery. And if you're able to be true and honest about what's going on, then you're going to get the support you need to rein things back in if you do have schedule problems. All right, so that's it for this week's Project Management Insight. Look forward to speaking to you again next week for the next episode. Remember to like or review the podcast if you're listening to it on whichever app you're using. Really appreciate the feedback, and share it with anyone else that you know that's in the project space that might be interested in the insights that I share each week on the podcast episodes. Till next week. Thank you for listening to this Project Management Insights podcast. Be sure to visit projectmanagementinsight.com and sign up for our monthly newsletter, or to receive updates on upcoming training.